So to be a Black woman, to be a Black girl, is to be both hyper visible and invisible at the same time.
Ooh, hello, pretentiousness. This is going to be a fun episode, isn't it?
It's why you'll have policies in a school that appear to be race neutral on paper.
Maybe they are race neutral, and you're the one reading into it. Have you ever thought about that?
But have a disparate impact when you start talking about dress code and hair policies, where Black girls are being told your hair is distracting and you need to go home.
I remember dress code when I was in school. If a girl came to school with a napkin trying to identify as a shirt, the school would give her a t-shirt to wear over it for the day, and then tell her to please never wear that type of shirt to school again or she'd get written up. Maybe schools should have some hair ties or headbands to give to the girls with distracting hair. Or maybe, and here's a novel concept, follow the dress code.
What? No!
If you knew the school would rather your hair be tied back, just do it. It's only for the day. When school is done, you can do whatever you want with your hair. Quit making your own drama, please. One of the functions of school is to teach children that there are rules in society that we follow so that society runs smoothly. Some of those rules aren't fun, but they're necessary. As adults, you have to do things you don't like sometimes because life isn't always rosy. Schools try to teach this to children so they get used to how the world works and so they can function as better adults. Something else about schools is they seem to be allergic to letting a child stay in the school if the child has broken a rule. Sending the child home doesn't do anything other than deprive the child of what they would have learned during the school day and annoy their parents because they have to now pick up the child in the middle of the fucking day. Schools used to write children up with pink slips for misconduct, but then let them go back to class. It was only after a certain amount of pink slips had been accumulated that the child would be eligible for expulsion or being sent home. I think what Ayanna is talking about does shine a light on a problem in the school system, but I think it's more about the zero tolerance policies failing than anything race related. I'm not surprised though. Race hustlers are gonna race hustle. Right, Henry?
Racist policies.
Language manipulation is a huge plague on society today, and there is a lot of it present in Tracee Ellis Ross's, I can't say her name. Tracee Ellis Ross's show, The Hairtales. I despise manipulation of all kinds, and language manipulation is especially insidious because it warps a person's thinking without them even knowing. In extreme cases, people are brainwashed into terrible ideas all because the language they heard sounded good. Language manipulation is very prevalent in this episode where Tracee interviews Ayanna Pressley.
This show is really about anchoring and giving us a space as Black women.
It's like they have to remind themselves every 8 seconds what race they are. Oh, 8 seconds has passed. Gotta say what race I am again so I don't forget.
Representative Ayanna Pressley.
Oh, good, a politician. Do you smell that? I can just smell the bullshit already.
Is a revelation.
A revelation of what? Oh, how pretentious she is. Yeah, that's gotta be it.
Determined that policy protects the worthiness of all Black women and girls, she remains a public servant committed to legislative healing.
Here we see the leftist view on government. The government is the one who gives you worth. The government is the one who heals you. Instead of, oh, I don't know, God. Government thinks it's God. That's a very accurate insight into what leftism is. This is why I'm talking about this show. When I see the superiority attitude being talked about like it's completely fine at the levels of government, I find it highly disturbing. So I feel the need to point it out when I notice it. I have a question. Does it heal a nation to stop imprisoning people? Ayanna holding this very loaded sign, "End Mass Incarceration," raises many questions. What does that mean? Prisons are a necessary institution to discourage people from doing bad things. The threat of prison looming over a person is intended to make it so the person thinks, I never want to go to prison, so I'll behave in society. If we stop imprisoning people and worse, release existing criminals, would that heal a nation? What good would it do to let Charlie Manson out in society? He'd just go and kill a bunch more people. I foresee this policy destroying a nation, abusing a nation, by letting criminals terrorize innocent people. It would be mass chaos if we ended mass incarceration.
Who did your hair?
Sure. Well, let me just start with one of the most defining memories for me about my hair, and that is my mother telling me that she was not going to do it. I distinctly remember registering my mother, who would do anything for me.
Except your hair.
Who loved me fiercely, who is my world, is saying, this is not something, that I do. And so I said, okay, my hair must require a lot. And something about that felt heavy.
Could it be that your mom was trying to help you out? If she knew that she wasn't going to be able to do your hair correctly, wasn't it better that she told you up front instead of doing it and then you getting mad at her that it wasn't done correctly? This show has said for the past 2 episodes that black hair is so different that it requires a particular set of skills to style properly.
But what I do have are a very particular set of skills.
Otherwise the hair falls out. Would you rather your mother have done that? Sometimes when people say no to things, it's for your own good.
As I would be holding my ear to prevent it from getting burned while my hair was being pressed, that there was a willingness to subject ourselves to something painful.
Life is painful. Leftists seem to always forget this, but it's part of life. Struggle and adversity create and build character. Wonder why no one has any character these days? Despite everybody whining about their struggles, we are quite comfortable, which leaves time for leftists to make shows complaining that a straightening iron is the biggest painful experience in their lives. White people use straightening irons as well, but we don't complain about it.
We come together and we commune, and it just amplifies our divine feminine magic.
If you've ever wondered what it sounds like to be someone who has never been told no in her entire life, this is a perfect example. Calling yourself divine? That's some entitlement right there, thinking you are a god.
My mother, did nurture me and cultivate that which whatever I came into the world with.
Just because you say a bunch of words in grammatically correct order, it doesn't mean you said anything with them. We are reaching Obama levels of pretentiousness here. He was very good at saying a lot of words that were all bullshit.
May she rest in peace and power.
At least she also said peace. Leftists tell on themselves when they add "in power" to the phrase "rest in peace," because it says they value power so much that when a loved one dies, that's what they wish for the loved one to have. In ancient Egypt, they would bury gold and valuable things with the deceased and build them gigantic tombs because those are the things that ancient Egyptians valued. The leftist obsession with power even transcends death. Why do you need power when you're dead? Why do you need anything when you're dead? Politicians who seek power as their number one goal are the ones I immediately don't trust. If you value power above all else instead of wanting to improve the lives of your citizens, that's not a good sign. Power-hungry politicians cause those moments in history no one ever wants to repeat.
She reminded me of Diane Carroll. She was beauty embodied and also had a personal style. My mother would wear to church leather, caramel-colored jeans.
I'm done.
Okay? And a Mandarin-style velvet, wine-colored blazer with heels.
So, brown jeans and a red blazer and heels? My God, the way she says this is like it's some groundbreaking, stunning and brave and good and perfect occurrence. Maybe this shows how empty leftists are. They have nothing to talk about, so they have to make everything sound like it's the best thing in the world, but they end up sounding obnoxious.
Wait, can we call your mother in for a second?
What are you talking about? Have you not been listening? Did you not hear the rest in peace and power part? What are you gonna do? Hold a seance?
Yes,
Can we
Sandy.
Sandy.
Yes,
okay.
yes,
So-
my mother's Sandy. My mother was an extraordinary teacher. She didn't read me these traditional bedtime stories about anyone saving me.
Ah, yes, the leftist idea of fuck tradition because it's awful. There's nothing wrong with someone saving you. Life is hard. Sometimes you need help. Sometimes you even need to be saved. Friendships and relationships can form out of that because you feel so grateful that someone helped you out of a shitty situation. The bond
The name's Bond. James Bond.
that is created when someone saves you at a vulnerable time in your life is very strong. I think that's why leftists rail against this idea of people saving each other so much. They don't want us to connect with each other, no matter how much they preach about compassion and empathy, because they don't actually value those things. If they did, they would be fine with people saving each other. They only say the words compassion and empathy because they know the rest of us know what those words mean and associate them with good things. Letting someone save you doesn't say anything bad about yourself. It just means you hit a point in your life where you were in need of assistance. The leftists don't like that, though. They don't want us to be helpful to each other, and they definitely don't want us to have our traditions. So, just because it's traditional, according to the leftist, it's bad.
But you are being born into a struggle, and I have an expectation that you will do your part in that struggle.
Ayanna was born in 1974. The Civil Rights Act of 1964 was passed 10 years before she was born. We are equal under the law. What struggle is she talking about? When leftists talk about struggle, they seem to be whining about discrimination. But I always find laws that have been passed that already outlaw any potential discrimination against the particular victim class the left is whining about. The feminists do this with the pay gap, but there's an Equal Pay Act of 1963 that is American law. What struggle are they talking about? All that's left now is for me to assume that since the left is power hungry, they want to break this fairness we have between everyone and advocate for supremacy.
And of all marginalized people. And so that's really the soil that I was rooted in.
Maybe that's why the left loves veganism so much. They see humans as plants.
That's incredible.
Oh, gullible people will find anything incredible, won't they?
She was extraordinary. As Black women,
There's that 8-second timer again. Forgot what race she was.
we already have a complicated relationship with our hair.
This way of phrasing things always makes me think the person is saying they're dating the thing they're talking about. Relationship with food makes me think the person is dating their dinner. I guess we have people who have married the Eiffel Tower, so anything's possible.
A year ago at a private ceremony, she married the Eiffel Tower, pleading eternal love to the iconic structure.
Version of myself in each of these worlds.
Pretending to be someone else to different people, portraying a different image of yourself to different people. This should be a lesson that you should be truthful to yourself so you don't have to do this. Aren't you guys always bitching about authenticity? How come you're not being authentic at all times? The world always gets the same version of me. I am this version. There is only one version.
So my church community was there, the community from my neighborhood was there, and the community from my school was there.
Why would your church and your neighborhood be in different communities? Are you going to church several towns over? Were you the only one who was going to church from your neighborhood? Why are all these things separate? So many questions. Once again, this wouldn't be a problem if you didn't pretend to be different people in different situations. That's not a good thing to do in regular everyday life. I guess we see why she became a politician.
And my middle name is Sowini, which means richly endowed.
Wow, she was
Just
intentional.
to be clear, my husband thinks that it means something else. It's endowed with gifts, okay?
I mean, it would be fine for your husband to think you were richly endowed. Shouldn't he? Shouldn't you want him to?
My response to her was, because my hair will get wet, it will betray me.
Maybe she really was dating her hair.
And they will know the truth about me.
Pretty sure they were already okay with you being a black girl, considering they came to your birthday party. Pretty sure they were already okay with you if they were your friends. That's what friends means. People who are okay with you enough to hang out with you and talk to you.
And she said, and what is that? And I said, that I'm Black.
This says a lot more about you than it does about your friends. Your friends know you're black. They have eyes. Why does it matter that you're black? It makes me think you're insecure about your own self, which is consistent with why you pretended to be different people in different situations.
She was wondering if she did the right thing, sending me into this school where I was in the minority in every way.
Every time leftists talk about integration like it's this negative thing, it confuses the crap out of me. Every time leftists talk about integration like it's this negative thing, where they may have been one of a few black students in a white school, it makes me think they actually want segregation. The subtext of this is like, because I feel like a minority, because most of the students are white, I don't want to be here. I'd rather be separate from the white people. That's literally what segregation is. Idiots.
And she said, baby, they know.
I told you, and they don't have a problem with it, so why do you?
I had so internalized the social cues that I'd picked up and the ways in which I was successfully navigating and assimilated. And
are you complaining that you were accepted by white people? Shouldn't this be counted as a marker of success? Aren't black leftists always saying white people don't accept them? Now we find out white people do accept black people, which is something the rest of us already knew. Why are we complaining about this? This is literally the definition of a non-racist society. When races accept each other, despite them knowing you're black, they're completely fine with it.
When we see, and I didn't have a jerry curl, and, you know, my hair was straight, and I didn't even understand just how sad that was, that I reveled in that, I basked in that, I sought that out.
Welcome to the one thing leftists are good at besides incoherence. I will call them geniuses at doing this. Leftists are geniuses at taking an innocuous, either neutral or positive thing and draining all the happiness out of it until it becomes this negative, depressing, empty shell of its former self. Even listen to the music that Tracee puts in the show at this part, the sad music. To try to manipulate the audience to feel sad for Ayanna. That is intentional. Ayanna got complimented by the students at her school and was well liked, which is a great thing. But because she's a leftist, she has to turn the compliments on their head and say they were actually digs to puncture the very core of her existence. What? I can sound pretentious too.
It really comes from like TV and all this stuff we see that's not us.
Why does anyone have to see someone else that's representative of them on TV? I don't get it. I was watching Last Man Standing yesterday, and I relate to Tim Allen's character because he makes videos where he screams at the camera about how dumb society is.
Today I want to talk about accountability in a fish hook. What do I mean? Most people look at a fish hook and go, oh, I'll put a little fish line on there, go fishing. But it must be confusing to some other people because they put a warning label on a bag of fish hooks. Do not swallow. Really?
Tim Allen looks nothing like me, yet I related to his character. It is entirely 100% fucking possible to relate to characters who do not look like you. Seeing someone that looks like them literally doesn't matter to some people. But to others, it's like this mantra they keep goddamn repeating. Fine. You want to see someone on TV that looks like you? BET, Black Entertainment Television, was created in 1980 by a black man named Robert L. Johnson. A lesser-known name, Stepin Fetchit, was the first black actor in Hollywood. He was acting in 1930. Stepin made $1 million from his film career. That is a ass ton of money for 1930s standards. Stepin was the first black actor to be credited in a feature film. Sidney Poitier was a black male actor whose first movie was No Way Out, made in 1950, and Sidney played a doctor. Josephine Baker was the first female black actress in Hollywood, and she starred in Zuzu in 1934. Ethel Waters was the first black actress to win an Emmy in 1962. Dorothy Dandridge was the first black woman to be on the cover of Life magazine. Cicely Tyson is the first black actress to win an Emmy for Outstanding Lead Actress in 1974. Diane Carroll is the first black actress to get her own TV show, Julia, in 1968. Diane won a Golden Globe Award in 1968. Trina Parks was the first black woman to be a Bond girl in the 1971 James Bond movie Diamonds Are Forever. Felicia Rashad was the first black woman to win the Tony Award for Best Performance by Leading Actress in a Play in 2004. Gloria Hendry was the first black actress to play James Bond's love interest in the 1973 movie Live and Let Die. Halle Berry was the first black actress to win an Oscar for Best Actress in 2002. Anika Noni Rose was the voice actress for the black Disney princess Tiana in 2009. Brandy was a successful R&B singer who also portrayed Cinderella in a TV movie in 1997. Lupita Nyong'o is the first Kenyan actress to win an Academy Award for Best Supporting Actress. Keke Palmer had a talk show on BET in 2014 and then played Cinderella on Broadway. I don't know how to say this person's first name, starts with a Q, last name Wallace, was the youngest black actress to be nominated for an Academy Award for Best Actress for her movie Beast of the Southern Wild. So, tell me again about all the stuff on TV you see that isn't you. Do I need to list off 20 more famous black actors and actresses, or are we done here?
It depends on your definition of laid.
My definition of laid is inappropriate for this video. And I sure hope my definition of laid is not what someone's hair is doing on their own without the person's knowledge. We used to have definitions for words that were the standard. Can we please go back to that? Definitions of things shouldn't be subjective or no one will ever know what the fuck anyone else is talking about.
My definition of laid is just happy. It's laid and slayed.
My definitions have something in common. Mine results in the people being happy after getting laid.
Ooh. And I was the shampoo girl. And the reason why I was doing that was in exchange for getting my hair done.
I certainly hope you got paid as well.
That was about what you were presenting and how that would allow you to navigate the world.
Navigate the world? Who talks like this? Explorers navigated the world. Leftists just wheel their motor scooters down the aisles at Walmart. That's hardly navigating the world.
But it was very clear that they saw what my hair looked like.
Because we have eyes, we see what everyone's hair looks like. Black women are the only people who make such a big deal about it. And then they demand that we all make a fuss about it as well.
As something that could adversely impact that.
Black women act like no one else's hair ever gets messy or looks messy. When I do my videos, I mean, it looks messy right here, but I brush my hair and make it look nice before I do the video. I don't wake up like this. I have to put effort in to look nice before I do my videos. It's not like white people just get up and look good. Like, we have to do our hair as well. If I go into a store wearing the typical Walmart customer attire, you know, fuzzy pajama pants, a bathrobe, and hair that hasn't been combed for 900 years, people are gonna look at me weird. Despite how many people go into Walmart looking like this. It's not a good look for anyone. The concept of looking presentable is universal. When you put some effort into your appearance, it shows that you have respect for yourself, and it does make you feel better. I've had days where I've been depressed and I stopped taking care of my appearance, and those are not good days. After I take a shower, brush my hair, maybe put a little makeup on, then I feel better. And it's all because I gave a shit about myself. When people see you respect yourself, it makes it easier for them to respect you.
There are no limits to what black hair can do. There are no limits to what black women can do.
Can you go more than 8 seconds without saying the words black women?
We've seen it emulated, but we know that there's an originator. And it is black women who are the originator of style and culture and grace.
I'm pretty sure God is the originator of grace, actually. When Jesus died for everyone, when we didn't deserve it, he was the greatest example of grace the world has ever seen.
As a stylist, I get to see women go from a girl to a woman.
How long is that hairstyling session? Go in at age 10, come out at age 20.
And I was serving on the city council in Boston as the first Black woman elected to that body. And many people said that I could not keep that hairstyle.
Who were you hearing back from?
Honestly, most of that was coming from our home community. It was coming from Black folks, especially our elders.
Again, I say, when Black women complain that someone is complaining about their hair, we often find out it's other Black people. And again, I say, white people do not care about your hair.
Yes, that's right.
You
My
know what I
congresswoman wears braids.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Great, but what are you doing for the state? I could give a shit what hairstyle my congressperson has. I want to know if their policies are helping or hurting so I can vote them in or out. Are you doing good for the country, for the state, for whatever jurisdiction you have been assigned to?
Can a congresswoman wear her hair in braids, rock a black leather jacket? And the room went crazy.
Can a congresswoman do her job and try to improve the country instead of worrying about what type of jacket is in her closet? Can a congresswoman focus on the things that she's supposed to focus on?
It was creating space for others.
Obama levels of pretentiousness.
As a Black woman
8-second timer went off again. She forgot what race she was.
and a Black woman in politics,
And forgot what job she has. Gotta remind herself about that too.
I had to have conversations with my staff all the time about my hair because
So you're not having conversations with your staff about how to improve the country? No? Looks like you need to remind yourself what job you have again, because it looks like you forgot. Politicians are supposed to be public servants who do things to help their communities.
I was fighting to get the space to get it done.
You mean to go get your hair done?
Exactly.
I feel sorry for Massachusetts. This is what politicians are doing now, worrying about whether they can go to the salon or not. Are you kidding me? I am so sorry, Massachusetts.
So as a congresswoman,
Okay, you've reminded yourself what your job is. Now remember what your job requires you to do and do it.
I'm in Washington Monday through Friday. And then on weekends, I return home to see my family. It was just very challenging for me to do the maintenance and upkeep necessary for my braids.
If your hair is too complicated for your job schedule, maybe you need a less complicated hairstyle. Or, and I know this seems like rocket science, but do what the rest of us do and schedule personal appointments on the weekend.
I booked AP for a hair appointment, and I gave her 45 minutes because that's what I
45 minutes.
45
I chuckled.
minutes.
I'm like, get out of
and
here.
he said He said I never did that again, right?
Somebody does not have her priorities right. She is putting her very important job as second on the list to excessive personal grooming. Maybe this isn't the right job for you.
And it's like the audacity. I mean, what do you think
What about your audacity to treat your political aides as if they're gophers only there to serve your personal grooming demands? A political aide's job description is to prepare the reports, conduct the research, draft the legislation, and prepare the negotiation briefs that allow political life to go on. They're not meant to be there to pick up your dry cleaning and schedule your hair appointments, you entitled twat.
45 minutes in the chair.
I hope you're joking, because you need a different hair salon if you show up for your appointment on time and they make you wait 45 minutes before they are ready for you.
I'm eating my plantain chips, watching some African soap opera.
Oh, now I get why you were mad. Your hair salon appointment sounds like a vacation, and so you wanted to take hours away from doing actual work.
That's amazing.
Not as amazing as how large the ego is on this woman. Feminists complaining that men have large egos were really talking about the size of their own egos.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so what happened is that it took me a long time to find a braider in Washington. So I wasn't just going to let anybody braid my hair.
Because I'm so much better than you. and none of you are worthy of touching my hair. Unless I deem you worthy, because I determine your worth.
You have to find somebody who's really gonna care for what you got going in in your hair. No matter what you're going through in your life, you taking medication, you stressing, we're gonna make sure that your hair is okay.
Screw your mental health, screw being stressed out. As long as your hair looks good, that's what's important. Got in a car accident, your legs pinned under some twisted metal, but does your hair look good? Stuck in a snowstorm, stranded by the side of the road, but does your hair look good? Can't even with this shit.
When you have a one-on-one relationship with your hairstylist, there's a trust. If I'm gonna let you touch all of this, we gotta have a trust.
I was okay with everything she said until she got all smug and arrogant about if she was going to let someone touch her hair as if it was gold.
If I'm gonna let you touch all of this,
now I just think she's an entitled twat. Still, the twat waffle is right that everyone who gets their hair done on a regular basis of any race has a relationship with their hairstylist and trust them. I trust my hairstylist to color my hair correctly because it's difficult to dye it. So I trust that he knows what he's doing.
I often call hairstylists therapists because in my career, I've heard so many stories about how the hairstylist was the first person that found out that I was depressed.
Isn't that a bartender's job? You're depressed because your wife left you, so you go to the bar and share your problems with the bartender while the bartender listens, or at the very least gives you someone to talk to.
The hairstylist was the first person who found out that I had cancer.
What about your husband? Any loved one? Your best friend? Surely one of those people would hear about a cancer diagnosis before your hairstylist would. All this tells me is that some people have no friends.
They were the first person to find out that I was getting divorced.
Before your husband or wife finds out? Don't people usually storm out after yelling, "I want a divorce," at their spouse if they're going to get one? They hardly keep it a secret from the person they're completely upset with who has been pissing them off so much to the point where they'd even need a divorce in the first place.
There's an intimacy that happens when you sit down in the chair.
Careful with your choice of words there. You're making the chair sound like a sex toy.
I remember getting my hair done. And she said, you have some spots in your head. And so I was creatively concealing the spots, but it was still very traumatic.
Oh, there's that word traumatic being used wrong again. Embarrassing is more like it. If you have bald spots, it can be embarrassing. But it's not a matter of life or death. Trauma is supposed to be a word for a strong incident where you had to face death, like war, or escaping a cult, or being kidnapped. We've been over this. Embarrassment is when something happens to make you feel self-conscious, but your life is not in any actual danger. Do you get the difference? If you do see the difference, then saying the word traumatic when you mean embarrassed is a very insidious way of taking the meaning out of the word traumatic, and that would be evil.
And of course, my job is public.
Oh, so you do remember what your job is. I was starting to wonder when you sent your political aides to schedule your hair appointments for you. Instead of having them do, political things?
What? No.
I'm on television, I'm being photographed.
Surely you could have sent one of your political aides to buy you a wig. You're already treating them like your interns. What's another menial task?
And so then the night before the first impeachment of Donald J. Trump, I went completely bald. I said, it's over.
Whoa, is this episode over yet? No?
5 weeks. 5 weeks. And it was 1 o'clock in the morning. I took a selfie. I sent it to my husband, who was heartbroken that I was away from him.
This is the first good thing that I've heard Ayanna say. It makes me happy to hear that Ayanna has a loving husband. I think everyone deserves to have love in their life. And if they're lucky enough to find someone, that is a very good thing. If anything is going to save Ayanna from leftism, love is one of the more powerful, positive forces in life that could be the thing to do it.
And his comforting embrace and in dealing with this alone. You know, some people think that it's just cosmetic, but there is a huge psychological toll.
Absolutely. I will agree again with Ayanna here. Hair is a large part of a person's appearance. Changing the style or color can dramatically affect your appearance, and when it's gone, it can really mess with your head. It's a cosmetic aspect that has a psychological connection. Your hair is part of you, so when you lose your hair, you're losing a part of you, and that is very sad. It is very sad that Ayanna lost all her hair.
I'm going through this transformation not of my choosing, carrying great shame, great trauma.
Oh, this is where Ayanna is gonna piss me off again. Maybe she feels very sad, yes, but trauma is the wrong word. Her life is not in danger. She's just having a very sad time in her life. I don't like this conflation of words, and the leftist language manipulation is insidious.
I get chills thinking, for us as Black women,
8-second timer, Tracee's turn to forget what race she is.
our strength, our beauty, our power, yes, is in our crowns.
See, here's the problem. Hair is important, but it shouldn't be idolized. If Ayanna hadn't idolized her hair, losing it would still be very sad, but maybe she wouldn't feel sad enough about it to call it trauma. There's also that power thing. Why are you so obsessed with power? You shouldn't associate power with your hair. Your hair is part of you that helps enhance your look, not an all-powerful entity on your head. I think there are good ways to feel powerful, which usually comes from doing something virtuous. This power just for power's sake is what I don't like. That's the type of power that's easily corruptible.
I did have a tremendous attachment. That was what I consider to be my femininity, an expression of my womanhood, of my Black womanhood.
8-second timer, Ayanna forgot what race she was again.
Madam Speaker, I rise today to protect our democracy. And when I walked on that House floor in that wig, I felt naked. I felt like I looked different. Everyone must be looking at me.
As I'm watching this, the second Ayanna says everyone must be looking at me, there's a woman sitting behind her, and she's looking at the person sitting next to her. Then there's a man a row behind, and he's looking down at his papers. The woman only looks at Ayanna occasionally because she is listening to what Ayanna is saying. So from this small scene, you are self-conscious, Ayanna. No one is looking at you with malicious intent. Stop imagining things that do not exist. No one else cares about your wig. No one else cares if you're bald.
It was a beautiful wig. He did an incredible job. I just didn't even know what to do. So I went to the bathroom and I hid.
Because that's what we all want. A congresswoman who is driven to hiding in the bathroom by her insecurities.
And I said, you know, as a Black woman...
8-second timer went off. Ayanna has to remind herself what race she is.
I already have to put on so much armor. I said, I just don't want to put on anything else. I'm trying to find my way here. And I do believe going public will help. This is my official public revealing.
That's great. How about those policies?
I'm a person who doesn't have alopecia. I have questions, but I'm afraid to ask, right?
I thought you all were such a tight-knit community. You're always going on about how good and friendly your community is, but yet you're afraid to ask each other questions?
Your presence tells us about who we are because of who you are, because of the way your beauty abounds, because of the way your professionalism abounds. You have just been showing up with who you have become and continue becoming.
Okay, calm down, Kamala Harris.
You know,
Thank you, my sister.
Thank you? What the hell even did Tracee just say? Time passes. And with the passing of time, more time passes.
I thank my husband, too, who told me early on, you do not need hair to wear a crown.
You do not.
Yeah.
Right. You just need a head.
There's all these things culturally that limit our freedom.
Yeah, and they all come from the left. Controlling our speech by bullying people who don't use leftist words. Controlling our thoughts by bullying people who don't agree with leftist ideas. Controlling what we can wear by bullying people who dress up in another culture's traditional clothing. Controlling every aspect of our lives culturally by bullying people. If you feel like things are limiting your freedom, take it up with the left, which is your own side.
Well, okay. So, injustice, the undermining of our humanity, and I'll say as Black women.
8-second timer went off again. Ayanna forgot what race she was.
Our dichotomy is this unique one where we are hyper visible in such a way that everything about us is criminalized and politicized.
By who? Leftists. When you riot in your own neighborhoods and then act like crime is this glorified thing in your music style and people notice, and you get upset when people notice, how is that anyone's fault but your own?
Well, as I write in my book, stop hitting yourself. Stop hitting yourself. Why are you still hitting yourself?
So to be a Black woman, to be a Black girl.
8-second timer, Ayanna forgot what race she is. Hey, if you're tired of this joke, take it up with Ayanna. She's the one who keeps forgetting what race she is.
The majority, as high as 80% by the time they're 13 and 14. So the data helps legislators understand that this is not a one-off or isolated incident.
Speaking about the way people present themselves, the way this woman talks just sounds so smug and arrogant.
So the data helps legislators understand that this is not a one-off or isolated incident.
If she wants people to listen to what she has to say, she could do well to be less smug about it. Even if what she says is true, presenting yourself like an asshole doesn't make people want to be around you.
In the workplace.
In the workplace. That can mean that you're never interviewed for a job. It can mean that once you have a job and if you change your hair that you're not promoted.
Can't you change your hair back to what it was when you got hired? Wait, how did you get a job in order to need a promotion? Didn't you just say no one has ever interviewed for a job?
Black people and marginalized people and Black women have been victimized by very precise and intentional policy violence.
Here again. We're using the word violence to mean laws we don't like.
Racist policy.
I complained about this in my reaction to the Asian American Vice panel, as they also used the word violence to simply mean something they didn't like. Stop taking the harshness out of harsh words. If you don't like the law, fine. Bring up your concerns, but stop using manipulative language. Making laws using this obfuscation of language instead of just telling the truth about it takes things off course and causes drama. If you simply just said, I do not think it is fair that a Black girl be sent home from school because she is wearing hair extensions or that her hair is deemed too puffy. I think that we need to have a little bit more understanding around the way Black girls' hair is. Although some styles may be inappropriate for school, some of the other styles that are simpler but different shouldn't be looked at as distractions because the Black girl cannot help that her hair is the way that it is. If she is doing her best to keep her hair looking nice while she is at school, she shouldn't be penalized for it. How about that? That would be a case that would address the problem without throwing in these harsh words to manipulate people's emotions. How about you just stick to the facts of the actual problem so we can solve the problem on both sides? Usually if you appeal to reason, most people will understand what you're trying to say. But if you accuse the other side of violence, they're going to be on the defensive and you're never going to get what you want.
What's the agenda, though? To have everyone, right, looking exactly the same.
Right. I'm unaware of there being an agenda for everyone to look the same. I am aware, though, of the agenda where everyone is being forced to think the same.
There's a hidden agenda because those who can't do want to do, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Black people have always been so unique. Our hair is so unique.
I feel like we are such an impactful people.
Yes.
If they can make us feel bad about the versatility that we possess with our hair, you know, it would make them feel more comfortable.
That's true.
I'm hearing high levels of insecurities going on here. The self-soothing, when they keep saying they're so unique, they're telling themselves what they want to hear. They're versatile, they're impactful. Once again, I'm guessing they, when these salon women say it, means white people. So I say again, white people do not care about your hair. You're the only one who cares about your hair. I'm not worried about your hair making me uncomfortable. I don't understand why you keep saying that.
Black hair is policed because we're policed.
Aw, you think you're so clever with that one, don't you?
And policing black hair is a way to police us.
You guys really think the world revolves around you, don't you? Ugh, the smugness. Duh. Once again, I say, white people do not give any fucks about your hair. We do not police your hair. What the fuck are you talking about? We arrest people for committing crimes. We do not arrest people for having hairstyles. What is going on?
They told us in all the ways in which their bodies or their hair was being policed and criminalized. And that was resulting in disparate suspensions, expulsions. So the Crown Act is legislation to ban race-based discrimination.
I thought the Civil Rights Act already banned race-based discrimination. Couldn't you use that to go yell at these schools who are suspending or expelling these girls unfairly? Don't you work in Congress? How come you don't know this? Why do I know this? So, is this Crown Act, like the Anti-Lynching Act, a redundant law? We didn't need that one either because it's already illegal to kill anyone in any manner. Lynching is included in the illegality of murder. Jesus Christ.
When they were introducing the Crown Act, I testified and I said, you know, I support this bill with these changes. And what I suggested is, why don't we change it to protected, ED, so that the language is consistent with the Civil Rights Act. There's a protected class.
So you didn't forget the Civil Rights Act exists. We are all protected equally under the Constitution. When you add protected classes, now you've made some people unequal. This is not a good thing. Why don't we get that? Or, is that your goal? Is it your goal to make some people unequal compared to other people? Think about this every time the leftists complain that certain classes need protection over other classes. Remember the superiority undercurrent I keep mentioning? The true goal of leftists is to attain supremacy.
Inhumanity has been legislated. Now we have to legislate
humanity.
We have to legislate humanity.
Oh, really? Were you legislating humanity when you said that certain people are protected above other people under the law? Is creating hierarchies of people and treating one better than the other legislating humanity?
When you say that we can legislate healing, my whole, heart opens up. Because I feel like my understanding of legislation and of policy is the opposite.
Ayanna's using manipulative language here again, and Tracee is falling for it. She says humanity and healing, implying that our current laws only exist to hurt certain people. That's not what our laws are for. Our laws are in place to make society functional and safe so we can stop worrying about our safety and basic needs. Once a country is developed enough to have a society where we don't have to worry about whether or not we'll be killed on our way to work or going home from work, then we can use our brain power to advance other things, to think about things to improve society. I'm not saying murders don't happen, but murders are illegal under the law. That's why we have police to go chase murderers, because they are upholding the law to make society a better place.
It's not performative.
Isn't it though, Tracee? Everything the left does is a performance. Judith Butler is a leftist philosopher, and she claims that gender is a cultural construct built upon a biological sex, causing the gender to be performed based on cultural norms of femininity and masculinity. In simple words, Judith Butler says people perform whether they're a man or a woman, instead of existing as a man or a woman, in reality, based on biology. This idea of performing is at the core of a lot of leftist theory, the gender one being the most prominent example. Also, why did you even mention performing, Tracee? Is it that mental gymnastics thing where you know it's performing, but you've got to lie and tell people it's not?
Legislation is the foundation. The next step is culture change. Because we know we have civil rights legislation that...
Do you? Why didn't you just use that legislation to take up a case if you thought you were being discriminated against because of your hair? That problem falls under that law, which we already have, so use it. Don't make up redundant laws.
That exist and racism still exists.
Because the left keeps bringing racism back in the form of diversity. If you want racism to go away, then stop taking every opportunity to cry racism about everything when it's not there. Stop imagining racism everywhere in everything. Some of us have moved on and don't see racism everywhere. And what do you leftists do? You call us racist for not seeing racism everywhere. Do you see how insane this is?
Well, as I write in my book, stop hitting yourself. Stop hitting yourself. Why are you still hitting yourself?
That's why this movement is important to keep shepherding, building the awareness, telling those stories so that we can celebrate and have our hair embraced is the ultimate goal.
Oh, that's what you really want. You want everyone to celebrate your hair. And if we don't, you'll call it discrimination. If we just ignore your hair and let you be, that's not discrimination.
And, you know, how I show up in the world as a bald black woman.
8-second timer went off. Ayanna forgot what race she is again, then forgot she was bald, so she had to remind herself of that too. That is all I have regarding the Ayanna episode. Be careful of people who use language to manipulate you. People ask, why do some people join cults? The answer is, no one joins a cult. The people who get sucked into a cult are not paying attention to the language manipulation that was performed on them. I was in a cult, and they didn't act like they were crazy psychos when they met me. They invited me to a pizza party in college and posed as Christians, so the language was similar to what I heard growing up in my Protestant church. They used language that made me think they were harmless, and it wasn't until about 2 years after they knew me before they pulled their bait and switch when they started telling me I had to follow their very obvious non-Christian doctrine. But they were still using the Christian words to manipulate me. This is what I mean when I say language can manipulate you. Even if it sounds harmless and innocent, but you're not paying attention to exactly what they mean with their words, you can fall into something bad. That something bad might not necessarily be a cult, but it would definitely be something that changes your thinking without your knowledge. Be careful, especially now. I see this language manipulation everywhere, not just in cults pretending to be churches, not just with politicians, but in everything. Think for yourself and don't believe everything you read or hear. Do your own research and make sure you know what the information actually is before you decide to follow something or someone. Thank you for watching. Don't be stupid, and I'll see you on the next video.